Now this little acorn light, I've had it since the mid-60s. That was our night light when we were down at camp. If you notice, the wick is above the top of the air dome. That's the only way these things work. That's why I don't like the acorns. I'm going to see if I can maybe improve it. What I'm going to do is, you see that row of air bleeds? I'm wondering what would happen if I plug them up and then have the air come in from down below through those air bleeds like all the other burners. So that's what I'm going to look at. So my thought was to take some of that silver aluminum tape and put on those bleed holes to see how that's going to work out. I also noticed that if you look down in there, you'll see the wick tube is higher than the cutout. Now if you take an eagle and you look at it, it's not there. It's down below the cutout. So that's a couple things that I'm going to look at. I may have to take that and cut it down a little bit. And I'm going to test burn it with the tape on there and see what happens. Well, as you can see, that covering those bleed holes didn't really do much. I still have to get the wick up, and if anything, it has to be higher. So I'm going to try lowering that wick tube to see if I can get the burn down inside the air dome, and maybe I'll have to increase the amount of air coming in from the bottom of the dome instead of the side. Well, I tried cutting the wick tube down with a Dremel. You can see I kind of butchered it. It didn't work well. That brass is old and brittle. So then I got the idea of taking that tape and raising the cutouts for the air dome, which would in effect lower the wick tube. However, that didn't really work out that well. Then I discovered that the new BP acorns had a higher air dome. You can see the difference there. So I thought, what would happen if I took the new BP air dome, the taller one, and set it on the old acorn from Plume Atwood. That's a still shot right there showing you what I got, and in the next shot you'll see what it looked like when it was actually burning. Now I had thought that taking the B&P air dome and putting it on the old acorn body, because it was taller, so that the wick was down inside, would make it burn better. And it does a little, but it still has the same problem that, if you notice, as I pull this up and give it just a little bit of air, look at that. You bring it down, so it's starving for air. Isn't that amazing? As you pull it up, and it doesn't take much, just a little, and she gets air. So that seems to be the problem with these old acorn. They're starving for air. So I got to figure out some way to get more air to them. So here what I decided to do was put the new BP air dome back on the new BP acorn and see if that burnt any better than the original Plume Atwood. And it certainly seems like it is, although if you raise the chimney, you can see that the flame goes up. So even that one is lacking in air. See, the thing is, if you see these little holes, where are they going to get air from? They can't. it has to come from down below, and it comes up into the air dome, and it should go out with the flame due to convection. So I don't really know what those holes are doing. All I do know is that both the old and the new burners, they definitely burn better when they can get a little more air. Now what I've done this time is I took the air dome and I pulled it out of its slots. There's two little tabs, one on each side, and I turned it just a little bit so that it would allow more air in. And it's amazing that as you bring it up, let me bring it around here, the amount of flame that you can get, it more than doubled in size. Now, admittedly, it isn't on very good, but you can see just how much that went up. I'm very surprised that that worked. I just got to figure out a way to get that up in the air and hold it. It does seem to be very sensitive now to exterior air if you blow on it. Yeah. So that may not be a good thing, that it's getting all that air, that it's susceptible to air movements. Now whether I don't think I can, no, probably can't. Let's see if I can turn it down. No, I'm going to have to plug that back in. So now I've got it, the tabs of the air dome back in their slots. So I can bring this back up. And I actually think that B&P or BP, whatever it is, they've actually improved the old Plume Atwood Acorn, because that burn right there is far better than any of the old Acorns were capable of. So now we've learned something about the Acorn burners, that they should probably be upgraded to the new BP.